Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. Welcome to another edition of Muhammad and Friends. I'm your host for the afternoon, Brother Mandene Muhammad, sitting in for my brother Jamil Muhammad, and we are so excited to bring another broadcast from Crow Media. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like and share the Facebook page, and also you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram as well. But again, I want to reiterate to like and subscribe us on YouTube. And remember, with ever-going changes in technology, things are always changing. We have to be able to keep up with the times also. So I say all that to say, please continue to support Crow, and as we are a vehicle for information to not only to amplify the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but also provide our people with a platform to get out their message as well, because we're so inundated with so much foolishness in this day and time. It's necessary to have an outlet like what we have here and what we've been doing for a little bit over 30 years now. So please, as we used to say, and we continue to say, help Crow before you need help from Crow. So this is an independent voice, and we need more of those independent voices, and definitely we need your support. And also, if it's Tuesday night, we're elevating the conversation on Elevated Talk. So at 9 p.m. on WVON, please check out me and my co-host, Brother Emmanuel Omar, as we're talking. Actually, we'll be talking to Dr. Tyrone Powell this coming Tuesday. So please check us out, 9 p.m. on Elevated Talk, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on Elevated Talk. And right now, I'm so excited to have this sister with me. I've talked to her before on Elevated Talk, but now I have an opportunity to talk to her via Mob and Friends on Crow Media. So I want to welcome to you the host of Nurah Speaks Podcast and active member of Temple Number 20 in Camden, New Jersey, my dear sister, Nurah Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Nurah.
Wa alaikum salam, Brother Mandene. Thank you for having me, sir.
It's an honor. It's an honor, ma'am. And, I was listening to your show, the show Muhammad Speaks on Tuesday night. And like I said, I can't say it enough. It's not easy to get up behind a microphone and be able to talk, for any length of time and actually hold someone's attention and have something to say and to be able to educate someone as well. So for you, Brother Brother Minister Wasim, and also my dear brother Kadir have done it also. But to listen to you this past Tuesday, just so smoothly and just kept my attention. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful talk that you gave. And like I was telling you, I'm torn a lot of times. I want to call in to let you know that somebody is listening, but I don't want to break the flow either of your talk. But I just have to acknowledge that. So, I just have to say our praise due to Allah. Wonderful, wonderful job. So I just wanted to say that to you, my dear sister.
All praises are due to Allah, Brother Mandene. Thank you so much for your support. And I'm grateful to all of the members there at Crow. Specifically the co-founders, Brother Shahid Muslim, Brother Halif Muhammad, and the late Brother Munir Muhammad. And we're grateful for not just the organization of Crow, but also the media that Crow produces. And Crow has been a great inspiration to Temple Number 20, Brother Minister Wasim Muhammad, and the believers here. And so Muhammad Speaks radio show was certainly encouraged and inspired by Crow, and it's just the responsibility of the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that we echo his teachings and his message to as broad an audience as possible, as often as possible. And I thank Allah for the ability to hear and the ability to relay the teachings of the messenger, and I pray to do so in the most effective and precise way as possible.
And you do that. And when you mention about the influence of Brother Munir in particular, and you all started Muhammad Speaks Radio. A lot of times when someone makes a suggestion to someone, they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's a good point." And 2 or 3 years later, they're still saying that's a good point. But Brother Minister Wasim, he took it and ran with it. How long have you all been doing the radio show now?
Oh gosh, let's see, Brother Medina. I believe it's been 13 years. And one thing I can say about that, in the teachings that we have in the temples of Islam, we're taught to give instructions in the form of suggestions.
Yes, ma'am.
So when a brother or sister gives another believer a suggestion and it's aligned with the program of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we really are kind of compelled and motivated to carry that through, especially if it serves the purpose of the program and the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
It absolutely was, and I tell you, and I'm trying to reflect, and I know you will correct me if I'm wrong. I think you was doing the Muhammad Speaks newspaper when we met you all, and then so that was a way to get out the message that of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And also, you were a writer in there as well, and also other believers contributed also. But to have the ability to do a radio show because you can't be everywhere at one time. I recall once that someone was trying to, castigate Minister Farrakhan for not being in the community. And of course, the Muslims are always in the community. But he was telling him, in essence, and he was on a radio show at this particular time. He said, I can't be everywhere at all times, but what better way to get out my message and touch thousands of people as opposed to 50 or 100 people in a couple of blocks than being on this radio platform right now. So I say all that to say you all have taken 13 years is a long, that means we've been dealing with you. We've been working hand in hand for 13 years with you all. So that's a beautiful relationship. And that's just to show you how quickly time flies, but time flies when you're working in the name of God and His messenger and when you're working and having fun. So it's been a wonderful, wonderful journey doing this work with you all. And of course, as I can't reiterate enough, you all can do a show by yourselves. You can go in-house and talk to the people. You can get on there yourself and talk to the people, but you also expanded and also have talked to outside people as well, because that's another thing that you all have started to develop during that time, relationships. The messenger promises friendship in all walks of life. And like you said, a suggestion a lot of times mean that's like a light nudge. And so you all, again, took that and ran with it and, got involved not only politically, but socially, as you already have done. You get the young brothers out there early and you get them out there and not to be afraid and get out there and involved in the community. And so I think it's just amazing how you all have taken that with just a few people and have accomplished so much. People have come and gone. You have people that have drifted away for whatever reason, but time is still at hand. Maybe they come back around, maybe not, but we can't worry about that. There's so many more in front of us that we have to focus on. And so I've always admired about that, about you all, and you have this compassion about yourself, and that no matter who it is of your people, what condition they may be in, you always, will go after them and talk to them just like you've known them for years. So, what say you about that?
Brother Mandene, the fact that we are involved in our local area socially and now politically is really it's been a natural progression for us. One thing I always like to reiterate for those who have heard and to say for those who have not understood the history of Temple Number 20 in Camden, New Jersey, we were simply a body of believers, Muslim followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who wanted to establish the work and bring the people into awareness of the messenger and his teachings and his programs. And so for us to bring others into awareness, then we have to demonstrate it first. And so it was through that work that we did here at our temple with each other, with our young people under the administration of Brother Minister Wasim Muhammad. It's hard to ignore the results. It's hard to not see the progress and productivity of a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because we're not just teaching a spiritual theology. This is something that you can touch, see, taste, and experience. And so others took notice of us, specifically speaking of the former mayor of Camden, Mayor Dana Red.
Yes.
And it was during a very tumultuous time in the city of Camden and in her administration, where there was concern about the public safety. The police department was being stood down and they were standing up a new countywide police force. And there was a lot of conversations, a lot of negativity. The city was not a safe place. And because Brother Minister had been working diligently with his head down, just doing the work of the messenger, it was hard not to notice the progress and to see that he was and is an effective leader and someone that the city should partner with, or at least bring into the circle where decisions are being made. And that really began our journey politically, just by Brother Minister being invited into community meetings. And I remember kind of sneaking in quietly into the back. And eventually, I recall the day when Brother Minister, as he would always do, he would come in quietly and sit in the back. He was called to the table. And from there on, others were forced to recognize, when the mayor recognizes you in the city, others around you also have to take notice of you. And that really began our journey.
Yes, ma'am. And you all navigated, in particular, Brother Minister Wasim, have been able to navigate smoothly through that process. Like I said, there was a lot of naysayers, but the messenger Elijah Muhammad stated in Message to the Black Man that the best politician is a Muslim politician, but we would have to politics will play a part in not only the hereafter, but what we're doing now. But of course, he said not that wicked and foolish politics that the people are doing right now. So, we want to make sure, that's why he said a Muslim politician would be the best one. But if it's not a believer, then we want at least them to have, no fear, being able to go
Can
there.
I add something to that?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Not only did the Honorable Elijah Muhammad say that the best politician is a Muslim politician, which we have to remind Muslims of when they have confusion or misunderstanding of what Temple number 20 represents.
Teach.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad also said that we must put the Muslim program to Congress.
Teach.
Meaning we have to get his teaching, his program established and viewable by congressmen or congresswomen. And that can't happen if we're just going to sit in small rooms and talk and not produce. And we must have to have relationships with not just those in local government, but also those in federal government. We cannot take the Muslim program to Congress if we're not implementing the program and if we don't have a relationship with those who are in Congress.
Yes, ma'am. And again, the beauty of it is not only were you with Governor Christie at the time, the governor, not the governor, but one of the congressmen, they actually came to the mosque. And I think you were given an award. This was about 4 or 5 years ago. I may be undercutting it. You
actually, yes, Congressman Donald Norcross. Actually, the Brother Minister presented and the believers presented me with an award,
right.
Surprised me with a service award. But that was actually an interfaith meeting that was held here because in the aftermath of a shooting at a synagogue in New Jersey. And Brother Minister, along with other faith leaders, put together a kind of a religious unity because we don't want violence upon anyone. And so it was agreed that this would be held at Muhammad's Temple of Islam, and others of faith came, and our congressman came as well.
Yes, ma'am. And it was wonderful. It was wonderful. And that's what I was going to say, that you didn't have to put your beliefs and had it in the bushel basket. They knew what you believed, and they didn't shy away. And they were actually, like you said, they were inside Temple number 20. And so it was Christian, Muslim, Jewish, but everybody believed the same thing they believed when they walked in the door and when they walked out. So we, again, just have to give you acknowledgement for that as well, my dear sister. So, but let's go ahead and really get into it now. So you are the host of Nurah Speaks. And how long have you been doing the podcast now?
Oh, gosh. Brother Mandene, I believe it's 3 years. I believe I've been doing the podcast for 3 years now, and it has been a very remarkable journey, I will say. Again, that nudge, as you mentioned earlier, I received from Brother Munir Muhammad and Brother Minister Wasim Muhammad. I believe they were really inspired by Nothing But Elijah, that Crow hosts on Blog Talk Radio.
Yes, ma'am.
And I remember Brother Munir asking me, Sister Nurah, are you going to do Blog Talk Radio? So I really gave it some thought, and I really decided to move forward with it. And I thought it was probably the next best step for me, as I had already been engaged in the community doing workshops and programs for young people, young women, girls. And Brother Munir and Brother Minister really encouraged me to broaden my message so that I'm not just speaking and impacting those locally, but I can have a broader impact. And it's really been a great journey. Praise
be to Allah. I want to remind the viewing audience that this is a interactive show. You can call in 773-434-6625, A756 And if you're watching us via Facebook, please like and share the broadcast. So just in case that someone that may have wanted to look at this may not be able to look at it right now, they can look at it later on. And remember what Mom taught you: sharing is caring. So definitely share the broadcast, please. And so, and speaking of sharing broadcast, you know, Nurah Speaks is something that, you, like you said, that was an influence from Brother Munir and Brother Minister Wasim. And so what do you look to achieve by the broadcast? Because you've been doing it for 3 years now. And that's, you know, as I think about it, you can probably, you really don't need a lot of guests. I know you had guests on there before, but I listened to it and you pretty much, you good with it. You can get on there, you get you a subject, and you can touch on just about anything. And so what are your thoughts about that, and what is you seek to achieve by doing the podcast?
Well, Brother Mandy, one of my main objectives with the podcast is to elevate the level of consciousness of our community. We need a renaissance in the Black community so badly. And there's plenty of folks who listen to The Breakfast Club. There are plenty of folks who listen to podcasts where they, drink cognac and smoke cigars. There are broadcasts and podcasts where sisters are gossiping and drinking wine. And, entertainment has its place, but I want to own the space where we can have serious dialogue, intellectual dialogue, where we can be sober-minded and really think about what's happening in our communities, do an examination, whether that's the status of women and girls, the status of our children and education, the status of the safety of our streets, our families, and really examine that and think about what we can do to improve the outcomes in our community. There are a lot of people who have the microphone that are just passing time. And we don't want to pass time, we want to make time.
Yes,
and in order for us to make time, that means we have to move from point A to point B. And as a community, we really have not been making time. We've been stagnant and complacent. And so I want to not just encourage Camden to consider its needs and to take action that's going to produce better outcomes. I want that for all of our people in the wilderness of North America. And so I'm grateful to have the podcast, and I'm grateful to have the will to do that. And the support that I have of the members of Temple Number 20, the members of Crow, who have just been instrumental. In fact, I would really like to host Sister Evita Ali. I had a beautiful conversation with her when we were in Chicago for Founders Day.
Yes, ma'am.
And the sister really touched me, talking about her breast cancer journey. And I know that there's a special event that she's going to have in October. And so I've decided to reach out and send an invitation to her so that she can expand on what it is that she wants the people to know and how they can support her.
We'll say less. I will make that happen for you, ma'am. I know she would love to do it, and I know she thinks a lot of you as well. So that's what it's about, and that's the beauty of. I was reflecting on Brother Monet as you were talking, like. And prior to me inviting you on the show, I was trying to figure out who would be the guest for today. And it's like, it's nothing better than just to go in-house and get our own people. Even though that you may be in Camden right now, I mean, that's just Crow East, and as we always say. And so you all are always available. You always have something to say of good and of positive for our people. So, I mean, what better place to go? So, I mean, we can do 1,000 shows, and there's always been people that would say, I enjoy the other guests, but they used to tell Brother Manette, but I really enjoy when you have your own people on. And so that's what we're going to tend to do. We're going to make sure they have something to say now. And then just bringing anybody on, just to be bringing them on. But, we definitely want to make sure that we remind the people that we got a lot of talented people in-house that we can talk to. And as we've done in the past couple of weeks with having Brother Earl Rockman on, and Brother Sharif and Brother Amir, and of course Brother George. Brother George, who's directing now. He may, appear to not say much, but you get him one-on-one, he's gonna lock you down, and to the point where you gonna have to start doing like this. Give me a time out, man. So, but I like I said, I really enjoy the podcast, the Nurah Speaks podcast, and I know you cover various subjects, and one in particular that I think we really haven't tackled here as much as feminism and Black feminism, so to speak. And so, and I know you have some thoughts, some strong thoughts about that. But they're passionate, they're compassionate too now. But I want you to be able to share, with that because it's almost like we're in the middle of a gender war, and it's like it's so dangerous to divide and conquer, that they have with us, with our black men and our black women. And so I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Brother, we're going to take the rest of the show with that subject.
Hey, let's go.
I had a show on Black feminism, and I will tell you, it took me quite some months to go live with that episode because I really wanted to do a little bit of digging. Anytime I have a conversation on the podcast, I really want to do it with integrity. And so that means I have to understand what feminists specifically, what Black feminists are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And as you talked about, the divide and conquer is so real. And it grieves me in a way, Brother Mandene, because
mm-hmm.
it appears that a lot of these sisters are well-intended. However, their subject and their position is very dangerous. This feminism and Black feminism is very, very dangerous. There's a very prominent feminist, Black feminist, who is a professor in a university here in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And she was speaking at Rutgers University here in Camden. So I went to see her just to hear what she was talking about. And I brought a younger sister, MGT, from Temple 20, who's also a college student. I brought her with me so that she's in that academic space, this young student is, and I wanted her to have the other side so that she can hear what the academics are talking about, but also filter anything that she gets with the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And during her talk, this sister said that Black women have made the mistake of aligning with our race instead of our gender, meaning that as Black women, we are more likely to support Black than we are to support women. And specifically, she was talking about political candidates, but just in general, Black women align with Black. And it is her position that we should align with women, which would mean all women.
Right.
And that is such a dangerous position to put forward, Brother Mandene, because when white women were benefiting from our slave labor and our hurt and our pain and our struggles, the Black man was suffering. And he was suffering there with us.
Yeah.
He was on the plantation with us. He was being abused with us. He was being lynched with us. And so it's a fool's errand to convince Black women to align with womanhood before we align with being Black, because we're Black first.
Yes, right.
And I hope and I believe that a lot of these sisters may have good intentions, but they have been miseducated and they're passing that miseducation on. And in so much, Brother Mandene, that they are now encouraging our boys to support this same mindset.
Yeah.
There was an article written by Damon Young of Very Smart Brothers, and you may be familiar with that.
The brother started Fubu.
And the article inferred that Black men were the
They were jealous.
Straight Black men were the white men of the Black community, meaning
I recall that.
The damage that white men do to their community through white supremacy and I guess injustice with sexes. The suggestion is that Black men, straight Black men, specifically straight Black men, were a danger to the Black community. And what's a danger to the Black community is ignorance and our division.
Yeah.
And messages like, and so here's a man, Brother Mandene, that's promoting this message.
Yeah.
Now that's an acceptable message. But when we, Tashina Arnold, a couple of weeks ago, she tweeted the question, what can Black women do
That's right.
to not take part in the emasculation of Black men?
And they dragged her.
This sister was crucified.
Yeah.
And in fact, the Black feminist that I saw here in Camden at Rutgers University was one of the women who came after her. And here's a Black woman saying, what can Black women do differently to not support the emasculation of Black men,
I saw
and
that.
Black women and Black men had a problem with that question.
It's terrifying, and I saw that, and it was. But I thought it was another. I can't recall who said it, but someone also said that black men are jealous of the white man's patriarchy as far as
Yes.
what's going on in today, and wish that they, could be in that same position. But it wasn't saying it in a way that us being able to be men, for men to be men, but in the sense that we want to be able to oppress our women
Mm-hmm.
in that state, instead of like you said, we building each other up. We want to be able to hold people down. So do you recall that? I don't recall who said it, but
I do, and I saw that as well. And so, and what the suggestion, as you said, is that where white men are the patriarchy, meaning they're men who are in charge and in control. And as we know, white men, they're in charge and in control is injustice. What the suggestion was is that Black men are jealous that white men could be in the position that they are in to be unjust.
yeah,
And what I argue is that Black men want to be given the opportunity for freedom, justice, and equality.
teach.
And the same opportunity that white men have to argue with their white women
Mm-hmm.
about governance, about families, about communities, or the opportunity they have to argue with other white men about how they're going to rule and govern themselves. That's what Black men want, and that's what Black men deserve. And Black women are not going to be free and justified until the Black man is free and justified. And that division where we are siding with other women before we side with our men is very, very misguided, and it sends an awful message to our girls. It sends an awful message to our boys, and we see that it perpetuates the division, which is the opportunity to be conquered.
Mm-hmm.
Of Black women, and we need a different message, and that's what I hope to achieve with the Nurah Speaks podcast, this conversation here with you, Brother Mandene, and also on the Muhammad Speaks radio show.
All praise is due to Allah. 773-434-6625 is the number to call in and speak to our sister, dear sister Nurah. Again, that's 773-434-6625. Still staying in that realm. People are always coming up with these new terms, these new phrases and everything, and they've been throwing around for the past couple of years, toxic masculinity. And so my personal thoughts is, the only thing that's toxic about masculinity is the lack thereof. But that's just my thinking. So I'm very curious to see what your thoughts of about that particular term.
We these words and phrases that come in fashion, like the term microaggression,
Yeah.
it's the shiny new object, and we all want to. Many of us want to. We're eager to take on those phrases, to write about them, to speak about them, and the idea that there's such a thing as toxic masculinity is absurd, Brother Mandene. And what we believe is toxic is injustice. What we believe is toxic is ignorance. What is toxic is oppressing people from the ability to express themselves. And so when we hear terms and phrases like toxic masculinity, the idea behind it is the suppression of what is naturally male, those natural attributes of male, not misbehavior, not sexism,
Yes, ma'am.
not racism. What they want to suppress are the natural inclinations of men to be in leadership, to be guides, to be fathers, and that's wrong. And to a great extent, what I know is that women, and specifically Black women, do not understand the nature of men. And that's one thing that we benefit in the Nation of Islam, where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad takes us down to the root of our very nature. If he's teaching us about the reality of God, certainly we must learn the nature of male and female. When we misunderstand the nature of male and female, and we are misguided by our former slave master in education, in sociology, in economics, and in all ways that constructs our daily living, then we take on that terminology of toxic masculinity, and we think we're in fashion, we think we're in vogue, and we think that we are allies, and that we are on the right side. And I'll tell you, news stations like MSNBC are so awful. for the Black community.
Yes, ma'am.
CNN, they're so awful for the Black community. And we may find ourselves more aligned with people as silly and as radical as Fox News, because at least they're understanding that there's a nature of a male, there's a nature of the female. And so when we don't understand that there's a natural inclination of a man's protection and his provision,
Teach.
when that rises up and a man is demanding to be himself, either through his words or his actions, we misinterpret that natural inclination as something that's wrong, because that's what our former slave master have told us. And that also leads to further division amongst the Black male and the Black woman.
You said something there, man. You man taking the call or two? Seemed like you generated some responses.
Sure, sir.
773-434-6625 is the number to call in to speak to our dear sister Nurah. And it looks like we do have a call, as I stated. So calling you on.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Assalamu alaikum to Sister Nurah.
Wa alaikum salam, brother.
Yes, ma'am. I just hate really to interrupt, because you got such a talent with poise and grace to be such a teacher, It's just a hazard for you to have to take any calls. Both of you really should be commended for the way that you have taken this stand to communicate the message of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to our people. I just think my brother would be so proud, knowing that he was the inspiration to have. But he said all the time, that it was just absolutely poetic. I didn't think Mandene would come from behind the camera to do what he did. But you should have been talking all the time, Sister Nurah. You got a great voice, and you have a deep understanding, and you have the ability to articulate definitively messages that people need to have and must have. And I just want to take the time. I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you how grateful we are to have you, and for the work that you do on behalf of the brother and sister organization, because you're like family, to us, Temple number 20, and all the believers there in us, how we have, I can remember first meeting you, and, it's just been a journey, something to watch that I appreciate, and I wanted to go on record before anything happens to let you know, both of you, what communicative skills that you have, and for the dedication to the work of the great, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Thank you so much.
Our praise is due to Allah. Thank you for calling, sir. Yes, ma'am. Did you have any thoughts on that?
Wow, I'm so grateful to have the support of Brother Halif Muhammad, and to have had the support of Brother Munir Muhammad, and I know we have the love and support of Brother Shahid Muslim. We do have this wonderful love affair, Temple number 20 and Crow, the Coalition for Remembrance of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We are one, and that's what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad makes the brotherhood and the sisterhood. We are one, and so there's not anything that separates us except the earth, and we try to close that distance as often as possible. And if I may say, I thank Brother Halif as well for acknowledging my ability to speak. I must give credit to Brother Minister Wasim Muhammad. For many years ago, he asked me, but we already established that a suggestion may often be an instruction. He asked me to open up at the temple and to bear witness to the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And from that, I've been able to improve my communication skills. And with the guidance of Brother Minister, I have gotten better and I've gotten more confident. I was not always a speaker. I was not anyone ever that wanted to be a speaker. However, when we're called to perform, especially on behalf of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we do not say no.
Yes,
not when we believe that
ma'am.
he is the last messenger of Allah. So I give thanks and credit to Brother Minister Wasim Muhammad because, Brother Mandine, as you know this very well, leadership is so important in this day.
Yes, ma'am.
Good guidance is so important in this day.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
Brother Minister is very patient with all of us here at Temple Number 20. He guides us and he gives us time and opportunity to develop our talents. And I pray to be able to do the same for others.
All praises due to Allah. And I just have to say, I grew up in this organization. I've been a member since I was 17, and that means I've been around Brother Munir since that time. But just growing up under his all of the co-founders, but under his tutelage in particular, he used to, try to get, as he would do any young brother or sister, but young brothers in particular, he had made no bones about how he was biased toward grooming young men because he always was looking for replacements, and he always knew that the sister would outshine us quickly. So he was a man's man, but he would try to encourage me to get a tape recorder back when cassettes were popular. That's just how long I've been around, and to speak, just to talk about it. I was going to say earlier that because I didn't really have a subject, anything for us to go into. And so, and when I said that, it made me reflect on Brother Munir used to always have a camcorder out there in the main auditorium of Crow. And we would have these different cassettes, and a lot of them, excuse me, would be labeled a little bit about a lot of things. And so that's why I saw this conversation as a little bit about a lot of things. But there were times that he would have us just to talk or just to say something in front of the camera as a practice. Always grooming, always looking for replacements, always. And like I said, he was a man's man in general. But couple that with the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he saw the urgency of wanting to, seeing that the only way to escape death is not to be born, and we have to have people in a position to take, to take lead, or to take, be in a position to help those that are in the lead to be able to move forward. And so he was always, even with the television crew, to make sure that we knew multiple positions, because he never wanted to be held hostage, when it comes to the hosting responsibilities. He would test different people out and just going through it. So you can never say that the man was selfish about what he was doing. And so I just thought it was genius of the method that he took, and the route that he took as far as grooming those. And like I said, it didn't matter who it was. He would always talk to them and take them under his wing, no matter how crazy we thought they may have been. He saw something in them. So that's what we went with. So if you don't have anything else to say, I think we need to take a quick break. Do we have a call? We got a call. But let's go ahead and take this call then, since we're flowing. So caller, you on the air?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, ma'am.
And good afternoon to your guest, Sister Nurah
Good
Muhammad. This is
afternoon,
Sister
and
Nina.
assalamu alaikum, sister.
I'm doing fine. I'm just trying to get in place so I could call in and to thank you for being committed and dedicated to your podcast, and for giving out so much information. And one thing I always keep in mind, your podcast, that you was talking about safe and sane. And believe me, during this pandemic, with us being separated, which I think a lot of it being separated gave us a chance to reflect on what we should do and what we shouldn't be doing, and allowing us to have time to think. And in ways, the pandemic was good. So I'm so thankful that the Black community is coming together, and the great job that you are doing in Camden, New Jersey, doing exactly what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us to do, because we're all Black. We should be united together. And thanks for being a part of the community and the city of Camden to make our neighborhood a better place to live. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Any thoughts on that?
I'm always grateful to hear Sister Amina's voice. She's always supportive. She's always encouraging. And that love that she just gave is so emblematic of the Nation of Islam, and our people are missing out on so much encouragement and support. Brother Mini, you know this. We don't know what we are until we're put in the position,
Come on.
in the right circumstances, and something from us is going to bloom. And that's what we have, as we have our brothers and sisters in the Nation of Islam, and the program which requires us to do something because we have a duty. Our people are missing out on so much growth and personal development when they shun the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in lieu of what our former slave masters gave us in terms of a lifestyle and religion. But we have something that's remarkable here. It's remarkable personally, and it's remarkable collectively. And collectively, we can have a very wonderful impact in our communities, as Crow is doing there in Chicago and as we are doing here in Camden, New Jersey.
Praise be to Allah. We're going to go ahead and take a break, if you don't mind, sis. Give us a breather, and so we can collect our thoughts. But we're in the stretch run now, so we're going to close this on now. When we come back, we're going to be talking about a little mental health, and I think Sister Amina touched on that with the pandemic and everything, and how we were separated, and how they may have taken effect on our young people and adults as well. So we're going to dive into all of that and go forward. So if we're ready, we're going to go ahead and take this break, and we'll be on the other side with more with Muhammad and Friends. And we are back. Brother Mandene T. Muhammad sitting in for Brother Jamil Muhammad on this edition of Muhammad and Friends, along with my guest for the afternoon, or probably be the evening by the time you see this, Sister Nurah Muhammad of Camden, New Jersey, Temple number 20, and the host of Nurah Speaks podcast. When does the podcast come on, Sister Nurah?
Brother, the great thing about podcasts is that it's a on-demand type of a program. Mm-hmm. So you can stream the podcast anytime. You can go to Apple Podcast, Castbox, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon, any podcast streaming platform, and you can listen to the Nurah Speaks podcast.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And so, and they can subscribe as well, right? You encourage
Yes,
them to
you can
subscribe.
subscribe. Yes, listeners can subscribe to the Nurah Speaks podcast. I'm always encouraged to hear your comments, and you can leave a comment or you can send me an email at nurah@nurahspeaks.com. That's NURAH at nurahspeaks.com. You can always follow on social media as well at Nurah Speaks Podcast.
And yes, ma'am. And hopefully, as you continue to grow, that those will see the value of what you're doing and become a sponsor and see in a righteous way. We just know we're not going to accept any old thing, but there are some people out there that may want to promote something of good what they do. But you still have your organization? Was it what was that? With dealing with the young ladies in particular? Was that E3?
Yes, yeah, E3 for young women and girls. Yes, I still do some work with young women in the community, and that's very rewarding. And that's actually was the springboard to the Nurah Speaks podcast.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Have any of the young ladies, because you've been doing that for a while as well, have they come back or reached out to you to let you know about their progress?
I hear from them often. I have one young lady that I just reached out to her. She just celebrated her 21st birth anniversary. And it's great, Brother Mandene, to know that you've made an impact. I don't always hear back from all of the young women, but I know that if, and I mean this humbly, to have an interaction with a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we leave our people better than how we found them.
Teach. No, I agree with you 1,000%, ma'am. Absolutely. And with that being said, Sister Mina kind of touched on something that I wanted to go into anyway, and that's the mental health of all of us, because we all, whether we like it or not, the pandemic touched us all. Whether we got COVID, know somebody that got it, lost a loved one, we were all confined to it. And as she said, and as I agree, it was almost like a reset button, like a free throw in a basketball game. What came out of it is, it's like reorient your thinking. I think you touched on that earlier. The situation is not going to make or break you necessarily, but it's going to reveal what's in you. And so that pandemic came about, and I think it put us in a position to, one, as I used to say in the church, get right church and let's go home, reevaluate. We are mentally, physically, and spiritually, because it definitely affected us in all three areas. And one in particular, that mental part, is really touched us. So, and I know you deal with the young girls and the young boys, because you are a mother of two young men. So that's by default. So, but how in Camden, since that's where you're based at, how did you notice that the young people were dealing with, in particular, young people were dealing with the pandemic, or just their mental state in this day and time, post-pandemic, or in quotes, air quotes, post-pandemic?
Yeah, it was difficult, Brother Mandene. For some of us adults, we appreciated some of that isolation. The ability as mothers specifically to work from home, to be there with our families. There were some advantages to that for many of us adults, not just cost savings, but just being anchored in to our home. However, for our young people who are in these critical adolescent stages, and adolescence can start as young as 9, 10 years old, that's the period of time where our young people are learning themselves and also learning how to deal with others. And so the closure of schools was very difficult, and the closure of youth activities and gathering places. I was just in Atlanta last weekend, and I was near Piedmont Park, which is a large, beautiful park there in Atlanta, downtown Atlanta. And it was full of people, and it was full of groups of people.
Yes, ma'am.
As Fairmount Park in Philadelphia, groups, families kind of get together and they do their thing. And I just thought how awful it was that spaces like that, outdoor spaces such as these parks, were closed, and these are meeting places. And I understand that, you know, the public health officials needed to mitigate the spread of the virus. However, the mental health implications has been devastating for our young people across the board. Suicide attempts have went up. ER calls because of suicide attempts have increased, and suicides, successful suicides, those figures went up. So it had a tremendous impact on our young people. And when we think, Brother Mandene, that adolescent age is that critical time where our young people, not only are they trying to find out how they fit in, but that's also a special time in their life where they are testing the limits and testing boundaries. And as parents, you know, we want to provide an opportunity for them to do that, but in a safe way.
Yes, ma'am.
And when our young people were confined and locked down, they really didn't have the opportunity to exercise those skills, the social skills that they were supposed to be learning, even down to our little bitty babies in kindergarten and first grade, and the kind of socialization and learning that they have to go through, and the acclimation to the school setting. So when they come back to school and they're in first grade and they did a remote kindergarten, they're really in kindergarten, starting first grade, you know. Our students really lost a good deal of progress that they may have made. And the little bitty babies that were just starting, you know, they're a year or more back in their academic journeys.
Yeah, and probably just overwhelmed the fact that they have to be around so many people they're not even familiar with. But we're going to get back to it. We do have another caller. Caller, you're on Muhammad Speaks with Sister Nurah. Caller?
Assalamu
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
Brother, you got an awesome guest on today.
Yes, I do.
A wonderful sister. And Sister Nurah, assalamu alaikum. I want to know, are you being sought after for your expertise and knowledge on an international level? Because we got black children everywhere, you know, and black children are black children, you know. And it seems to me that not only should you be sought after locally or nationally, but a sister like you could be so beneficial on an international scale. So I'm going to hang up and listen, and it's great to see you again, sister. Right on, brother.
Our praise due to Allah.
Wa alaikum salam to our brother, and I thank you for your kind regards. I will say, interestingly, when I look at the stats of the podcast, it is listened to frequently internationally. And, you know, I'm not just talking about indigenously black nations, but also European nations.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I'm just wondering when they're going to switch the shots, you know. But I agree with you, my dear sister. I know we're winding down, and but we got to remain focused on this. But also, you know, not only the rise in the mental illness cases, and I hear what brother is saying, but as the messenger is saying, when they tried to General Nasser, I think of Egypt, when they wanted him to come over and teach his people there, but he said, you know, and black children are black children, but we got you haven't even got all the people in New Jersey, and let alone Camden. So, but if it's a paying gig now, I'm pretty sure that you will accept that. So, but absolutely, but you know, but also, I wanted to also talk about the rise in mental illness cases as it relates to the lack of knowledge of God, self, and others. Also, if you can tie that in.
Yeah, you know, Brother Mandene, we can't leave that out. You know, it's unfortunate when our young people are struggling with, you know, their current circumstances, whether they're living with poverty, they're living amidst substance use disorders or addictions. It's abuse. It's difficult generally, but then when they lack the knowledge of self and others, you know, I will tell you, Brother Mandene, that my experience in being acquainted with the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that really settled the storm, if you will, that were the waters of my life. You know, ma'am. And I'll share with you and your audience that I was not raised by my mother or my father. Very unfortunate circumstances in both of their lives. And as a adolescent and as a young child and adolescent coming up, I really struggled with that. And I felt I had a lot of anger and resentment towards my parents because of that. It was my introduction to the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that explained the circumstances that I was in, the circumstances that my other siblings were in, and our people in general, that imbalance that we have in the Black community of the broken homes, of the high poverty rates, the always at the highest when there's a negative statistics, always at the lowest when there's a positive statistic. The teachings and program of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad really helped me understand that. So that helped me to resolve a lot of those issues that I had with my parents. And I was able, to heal the relationship that I had with my mother coming from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So I say that to say, in answering to your question, when we lack knowledge of self, it exacerbates every single problem that we have. When we gain knowledge of self, it helps to reduce, mitigate, or solve those issues that we have.
All praise due to Allah. We're down to 1 minute, but I recall, in going back to the Muhammad Speaks newspaper that you all were putting out, you actually did an article about your mom and how you forgave her and everything that went through. And this is right. I think this may have been right before that you may have physically engaged with her and expressed forgiveness and reconciliation between the two of you. And so that's beautiful, but that just shows your spirit and what's in you, my dear sister. So, we're winding down. Do you have any closing thoughts that you'd like to give? And be sure to remind the people how they can subscribe to Nurah Speaks podcast.
Thank you, Brother Mandene. You can subscribe to Nurah Speaks podcast anywhere podcasts are streamed. iHeartRadio, where you can also listen to WVON, where Elevated Talk is on every Tuesday. I'm grateful to you, Brother Mandene, for having me on this week. I thank Brother Minister Wasim Muhammad for the leadership that he exemplifies here in Camden, New Jersey. And I'm grateful to the members of CROW, especially Sister Diana Muhammad. She has such a beautiful and radiant energy, and I'm grateful for the work that she does there.
All praises due to Allah. Thank you so much, my dear sister. And please give the believers there the greetings on behalf of the CROW organization. And again, make sure you check us out, crow.org, for all your listings as far as CROW TV is concerned. So with that, I leave you as I came with leaving you with the greeting words of peace and the paradise of Assalamu alaikum.